Chapter 7, Section 2 is multiplication and division of rational expressions. Chapter 7, Section 3 is addition and subtraction of rational expressions with a common denominator. In this video, we will not cover finding the least common denominator. When we do the multiplication and division of rational expressions, we're going to do these three things: factor, cancel, multiply what's left. So in this exercise 34, I'm going to quickly go through the steps, and you should pause the video if necessary and rewind if necessary if it's too quick. Also, you could jot down questions you have to ask in class if something isn't clear. And it might be a good idea to try to do the problem. Pause the video, try to do the problem before I do it right now. And then start the video back up again to see how you did. To do this multiplication problem, we're going to factor x cubed plus 8. That's x plus 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 4. I said it's x plus 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 4. Sorry about that. We're going to factor x squared minus 6. That's x minus 3 times x plus 2. We factor x plus 5. Easy. 1 times x plus 5. And we're going to factor x squared minus 2x plus 4. That's also easy. It's x squared minus 2x plus 4 times 1. So we just factored. Now we're going to cancel, which means anything divided by the same thing is 1. X plus 2 divided by x plus 2 is 1 over 1. And x squared minus 2x plus 4 divided by the same thing is 1 over 1. Factor, cancel, multiply what's left. So 1 times 1 times 1 times x plus 5 over x minus 3 times 1 times 1 times 1. That's it. Factor, cancel, that's in the green, and then multiply what's left. Exercise 52 on page 392 is division. Division is performed by copying the first fraction as it is, 7n squared minus 15n plus 2, over n squared plus n minus 6. The division changes to the operation changes to multiplication, and we change the second fraction to its reciprocal. N squared minus 2n minus 15 becomes the numerator, and n squared minus 3n minus 10 becomes the denominator. And once the division is turned into multiplication by the reciprocal, we factor, then cancel, then multiply what's left. 7n squared, 7n times n, negative 1 times negative 2. N times n is n squared. Positive 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Now I'm on purple. N times n is n squared. Negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 15. I'm on this black trinomial. N times n is n squared. Negative 5 times positive 2 is negative 10. Make sure you are understanding why all of these are factored correctly. If you have any questions about factoring, be sure to bring those questions to class. n minus 2 divided by n minus 2 is 1 over 1. N plus 3 way over here divided by n plus 3 way down there is 1 over 1. And n minus 5 divided by n minus 5 is 1 over 1. So we factored. That's the hardest part. We canceled. That's all the green. And now multiply what's left. 7n minus 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 7n minus 1. 1 times 1 times 1 times n plus 2 is n plus 2. The answer is 7n minus 1 over n plus 2. When doing this, the canceling step, be careful to avoid the common error this is in the textbook on page 383. You might want to pause the video and read this carefully. Common error. Addition and subtraction of rational expressions with a common denominator. We'll not discuss finding the least common denominator in this video. Chapter 7, Section 3. This exercise 22 on page 399 is subtraction. And we do subtraction like this. We write the first numerator, 4x minus 3, minus parentheses, the next numerator. The parentheses are very important, all over the common denominator. And I said the parentheses, that's the parentheses after the minus. Numerator minus numerator, all over common denominator. The minus now gets distributed. 4x minus 3, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times positive 8 is negative 8. All over the common denominator. Combine like terms, 4x minus 2x is 2x. Negative 3 and negative 8 is negative 11. The answer is 2x minus 11 over x minus 7. If we could reduce this, we would. But we can't, so that's it. 2x minus 11 over x minus 7. 399, exercise 24 is addition. It's very similar to subtraction. First numerator plus parentheses, next numerator, all over the common denominator. When we distribute the plus, we get 3w plus 6. Positive 1 times negative 2w is negative 2w. And positive 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. All over w squared plus 2w plus 1. Now we combine like terms. 3w minus 2w is 1w. Positive 6 minus 5 is positive 1. And in the last example, when we got here, we stopped. But in this example, this fraction can be simplified because the denominator can be factored. The denominator is w plus 1 times w plus 1. The numerator can be factored because it's w plus 1 times 1. And now to get the final answer, we simplify this. Anything divided by the same thing is 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times w plus 1 is w plus 1. So that's the final answer in simplest form. Here's another subtraction, exercise 48. Numerator, 20x squared plus 8x plus 1. Minus parentheses, the other numerator, all over the common denominator. Then the minus that's here gets distributed. 20x squared plus 8x plus 1. Negative 1 times 8x squared is negative 8x squared. Negative 1 times negative 9x is positive 9x. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. All over the common denominator. And combine like terms. 20x squared minus 8x squared is 12x squared. That's combining these two. 8x plus 9x is 17x. That's combining these two. And positive 1 and positive 5 is positive 6. Don't forget over the common denominator. Now, if this can be factored, we need to try to factor it. So we're thinking about this. We're going to try to factor 12x squared plus 17x plus 6. That's not easy to factor. Try. We'll try 4x times 3x, because that's 12x squared. And we'll try positive 3 times positive 2, because that's positive 6. And this is correct because 8x and 9x is 17x. So that's not easy to factor. It should take you a while to understand that. The denominator starts with 6x squared, so we'll try 3x times 2x, because that's 6x squared. And we'll try positive 2 times negative 3, because that's negative 6. And let's see, that's negative 9x, and that's 4x. Negative 9x and 4x. That is not right. There's a mistake somewhere. Okay. So I made a mistake copying the question. This is supposed to be a 2. Sorry about that. Which means this is supposed to be a 2. And that means this is supposed to be a 2. And then this can be factored after all. Everything else is okay now. And then we're going to go with 3x times 2x is 6x squared. And positive 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And that's negative 3x, and that's 4x. Negative 3x and 4x is 1x. So that's good now. Sorry about copying the problem wrong. And now we're going to say that anything divided by the same thing is 1. The final answer is 4x plus 3 over 2x minus 1. So the big dilemma was at the very beginning I copied the problem wrong. But everything else is okay now. And let's do one more example. This one actually has different denominators. Negative 2a is not the same as positive 2a. But if we notice these terms are the opposites of these, we can multiply the denominator of this fraction by negative 1. We can multiply the denominator by negative 1. But if we do that, we have to multiply the numerator by the same thing. So we did not change the problem. When we multiply the top of a fraction by negative 1 and we multiply the bottom by the same thing, we're not changing the value of the fraction. So another way to write this first fraction, minus the other fraction, just leave that like it is, because now these have the same denominator, and all we have to do is now write the numerator minus the other numerator all over the common denominator. These have to be the same denominator. And negative 3 and negative 10 is negative 13. The final answer is negative 13 over 2a minus 3b.